Live from First Street Studios in South Tampa, Florida, it's time for another round of Last Call with Dan O'Brien, Seth Crumrick, and Jessica behind the camera.
Okay, hey Dan, sports, UFC, we teed that one up. But what a deck. What a sequence of fights. Let's review. Let's just start at the top. Give me some thoughts.
All right, so the first thing I'll say is it's a shame Frankie went out that way. My man, Frankie Edgar, was a true professional for the sport.
Absolutely.
Absolutely hated to see him go out that way, but it's time. It's time.
Absolutely.
And I think he understands that. He just wanted to give it one more shot, fill out his contract, did a great job, prepping for the fight, hanging out with the Gracie family there, and it's time to move on.
And he gets to showcase for his fans one more time, which I can tell you that we appreciate.
Yeah,
sure.
Absolutely. So he put the work in and just didn't go his way.
Yeah. Now let's talk about Dustin.
So I got mad the other night at Chandler. And the reason I say that is Dustin is a precision striker.
Yeah.
And what happens is he has been in with the best strikers. So, but Chandler, honestly, he's a fun watch.
Yeah.
But now he's 2-3 in the UFC. He's not going nowhere fast. You would be crazy to get rid of Chandler. I mean, He brings the heat. But there got to be a point that he has to either get with some other coaches or change his game plan. Because if you are a D1 wrestler with that kind of power, you can't blow your tank that fast. That first round, Dustin touched him up real bad.
Absolutely.
And don't get me wrong, Chandler touched him up too, but it's almost like he spent his tank while Dustin has done this 5 fights in a row. He waits and waits and waits.
There wasn't a mystery. Like, this is exactly the game plan.
Oh, it was going to be a gladiatorium.
Absolutely.
And the place went crazy.
Yeah.
But for Michael Chandler's health, his safety, and for his expertise on the ground game as far as wrestling goes, he should have just conserved a little bit of the tank, and Dustin proved that to be true. Now, there was some controversy about the fish hook, but come on, man, you're fighters. And then blew his nose, and slimy blood nose.
That was pretty hardcore to watch.
It makes it pretty hard to submit somebody. But at the end of the day, Dustin did a great job. He truly proved his professionalism.
Yeah.
He had a great training camp, and now he's probably going to sit it out to we were talking the other day. I think he's going to sit it out till the summer. Spend some time with his kids because they can't pull him out of school to go back down here to Florida to train. So you're probably going to see somebody else fight somebody else, and then Dustin will come in and refight for a champion.
And look, Dustin's fights, I mean, look, he leaves it all out there. He gives the fans some of the best fights I've seen. You need that recovery time. So I hope he takes the next few months and gets that family time. And
he's done everything he can do but be a champion.
Right.
So what he has to do now is he has to go back, spend some family time, get healthy, work on his hot sauce. Yeah. And because it's not the best. Dustin, I'm just telling you. It's okay.
Yeah. I'm not going to say. I've seen him fight. It's awesome. I don't care what anybody says.
But, so I think he takes a little time off. He spends a little time with the wife, the family, the kid. Yeah. And then he comes back and fights whoever's next in the pool. And then he'll get another shot at the championship. Because you still got Gaethje out there.
Yeah.
And he's a big one. So, that has to kind of see itself through, right?
Okay. You called Esparza. I mean,
Esparza. But that's okay.
Esparza, I'm sorry.
No, with Weili, that's
she could beat me up, so I'm not going to say anything.
I didn't think she belonged there anyway. I think Rose had a bad night. Lost that fight. I don't know what was going on there. I know Pat Barry's a great coach. Trevor Whitman's a great coach.
Yeah.
Rose Namajunas is a great fighter. I don't know what went wrong, but at the same time, things happen. And we just saw Weili was just too dominant. She beat her at her own game and submitted her. You would have thought she would have won by a knockout, but no, she beat her at her own game. And that just shows you the level. As this game goes day by day, you can't get left behind. So good luck, good job by Weili. And you know what? Everybody was cheering for her because they love to see her fight. She is a precision striker. Now she's worked on her ground game, so it went pretty well.
And what was great for her, too, was for Weili is, you're back on top of the mountain now. And look, you earned it, and it was great to take some losses in there. Now you're sitting there back on top of the game, which is fantastic.
And I don't want to say nothing bad about Carla because she did a great job over the years. But she was in the younger group.
Right.
And this thing has evolved now.
Yeah.
So we don't know what's next for her. Most likely, she was at 115. I don't see her going up to 125. It's probably a send-off party for her, too.
Yeah.
Go raise your kid. You were a great champion. But time has passed you by. Father Time has a vote, right?
Except unless you're Tom Brady.
Unless you're Tom Brady, but that's a little bit different.
So let's talk about the champs now. Let's talk about the top of that card now. That was big. That was I did not guess that was going to happen, but I got to say, heck of a fight. Really got to showcase just how talented and how amazing the UFC is now.
So, a very good stoppage.
Agreed.
Because there was 3:40 left in the fifth round. There was no getting out of that. But here's what you got to understand. Weight cutting is a part of the game.
Yeah.
And Jessica heard me go on there the other night, and I was like, this dude looks 3 weight classes above Adesanya, right? So
Absolutely.
he was like 220 when he fought. Adesanya was like 191. So, but that's not an excuse, because like Pat Miletich chewed me up, a Hall of Famer. I'm giving you a plug, Pat. He said, if you make weight, Dan, shut up, because he made weight.
That's right.
And that's about as clean cut as it could be.
Yeah.
So, but Adesanya had him hurt early. I think the third round, some really good grappling I saw from Adesanya that I've never seen. Fourth round, he could have been a little bit more aggressive. In the fifth round, unfortunately, he thought he was going to be waxed and gassed. Unfortunately, he was still there, and he had a vote. And Glover Teixeira, I was a little bit mad at him because I thought the weight cut, because, he waited to the last, 2 minutes to weigh in.
Right.
So he was struggling on weight.
Yeah.
And Michael Bisping will tell you, people need to understand, hydration is great because the water creates a safety barrier like a helmet on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
So I get a little upset with that because I know how Adesanya is such a good striker.
Yeah.
But it worked out for him, and that's good. But he's probably eventually going to have to move up to 205, I would say, because he's 32, I think, 33. And it's the weight cuts just get, when you're walking around at 230, 240, it gets a little bit tough.
Sure.
And then we'll probably see him at 205. But Adesanya fought at 205 last time he got beat there, too.
Yeah.
But overall, though, I liked the way he had his game plan.
Yeah.
It just didn't work out for him this time, but he'll be back.
And let's talk about, speaking of getting gassed and driving us crazy, let's switch the gears over to the NFL. We got to jump on the Cowboys right away, which Green Bay, I was fit to be tied. I was fired up during that game. I could not believe we dropped one to the Green Bay Packers.
And then after last night, seeing the Packers lose to the Titans.
Ugh.
So it's kind of, like you said, every given week, right?
It's frustrating.
But where did it go wrong? So take the Dak Prescott conversation out because they leveled it up. His 2 interceptions early.
Yeah.
It was all square.
Right.
Is that fair?
That's very fair.
Now, what did that do to the defense throughout the game is the issue.
Yeah.
Because the defense had to keep coming back on the field, right?
Right. The defense was definitely, that was the piece that gave me the most questions during that game.
And it did me too. And then what really was odd to me, if I may.
Of course.
So Micah Parsons, he didn't rush at all. Mm-mm. So, okay, now we will give credit where credit is due. Green Bay established the running game early on when they did, and they ran it often, right, with Jones, correct? So that's his name, correct? 33, Jones.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening was then they had to go heavy box the rest of the night. So they pulled Micah off the edge, bring him into the box. Well, the problem with that, then we go zero coverage.
Yeah.
And then that's what happened in the end of the game. When you have to stop the run, then they ran zero coverage. A couple Tampa 2s you saw out there was give Tony Dungy a pop. But they could, and then all of a sudden, Plant City boy comes along, Christian Watson.
He just lights him up.
And he's so fast. And they weren't expecting it.
Yeah, and what drives me crazy is, look, if you're on defense, you have to keep dictating the pace of the game. When they just went heavy box, hey, the problem with that is you are losing Micah Parsons on the outside. Mm-hmm. All I can think about that game is maybe his nagging injuries were slowing him down.
Perhaps.
And they were trying to use him in a different way. But for me, you don't change that. In fact, you force Green Bay to play your game. It just felt like it was the other way the entire.
Well, what they could have done, though, also, they could have still kept Mike on the edge, went zero coverage, and just pulled up one of their safeties or, whoever into the box.
Right.
and played kind of like what we called the rat back in the day.
Right.
A scout. He just
Absolutely. Monster man.
Right. But the problem with it is when you take the pass rush away, you made Aaron Rodgers look like a league MVP again, throwing to Christian Watson right out of Plant City here.
Right.
Plant City High, right? Or Plant High School, pardon me.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit upsetting to see that, but you can't blame the quarterback on this one.
Yeah.
Because they evened it up. The only thing that you can blame on it is the possession that made the defense have to keep going back out on the field.
Absolutely. And, of course, then we had our Bucks go to Germany, which was awesome, and do a little tub thumping on top of the Seattle Seahawks, the Sea Chickens, which made me very happy.
That was a big game, though. And it was
a huge game.
And, of course, Tampa, again, almost gave that one away at the end, right?
But they didn't.
They did.
We're on a roll now. A couple games and a bye week coming up, and we're leading in the NFC South. So just get to the playoffs. Figure it out between now and then. Just get in the playoffs.
Well, the good thing, they go bye.
That's right.
And then they bye week this week, and then they go to the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
So hopefully we go ahead and get that other game back.
That's right.
Until we have to meet the Bengals here, and I don't care what anybody says. The Bengals will be playing bad, but we just watched that with LSU.
Yeah.
Look, here's the deal. In college or pro football, you can have a horrible season, but you are still the Super Bowl runner-ups. And they will have a vote against Dallas, much like Green Bay. Because if you're having a horrible season, you say Super Bowl winners, it's like, I'm going to play Dallas hard and I'm going to play Tampa hard.
Yeah.
Right? There's a different wake-up call for that.
Oh, yeah. And look, the Browns coming up is going to be fascinating. You're going to have Deshaun Watson now. He's back practicing now, so that's going to be a whole different team coming in. So it's going to be exciting.
By the way, downrange supplements, this Mermite's pretty good. But go ahead.
Pretty good. It's phenomenal. Yeah. I love it, man.
So the last thing I think we need to talk about, though, is so when you look at all the things that just shifted at college football, where does LSU sit up if they beat Georgia in the national championship? It's going to be hard to keep TCU in there. So how does that look?
All right, so look, SEC championship game is going to be fascinating for sure. No doubt about it. That one's going to – I can't wait to watch it. Clearly, 26 November, we've got Michigan, Ohio State. Yeah. That's huge. I was a TCU hater, but watching TCU and the Longhorns play, TCU's beginning to bring me around. Their defense was fast. Holy smokes. So I take back some of what I was saying before. I always reserve the right to be wrong. I'm pretty good at that. And go from there. And so we've got some great college football coming up. LSU is hanging around the periphery. You almost called it with Ole Miss and Alabama. Almost, but of course, roll tide. Got to hang in there a little bit longer. I'm excited.
And it was a great game by Tulane last night. They came back and beat the Ponies. I knew they were going to. I predicted that, though. I told you that was a shellacking.
Yeah.
I didn't think UCF was that good.
UCF, that game, we misfired it, and it was terrible. Felt much better about the SMU game last night. If we can beat Cincy, we got a shot still at the Cotton Bowl, and we get another chance to take out UCF in the championship game. So I'm really excited. We've got so much great football coming.
All right, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. And by the way, go Jesuit Tigers. We're in the playoffs now. Let's do this. Come on. Tigers.